Good morning. Welcome to another kerfuffle webinar, and I am delighted to have Ben from Landmark here today. Ben, how are you?
Morning, Simon. I'm very good, thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
You've got a very feng shui room there. Is that your Zen place? It seems quite uncluttered.
I wish it was my Zen place. I've tried to aim the camera at the uncluttered side. To be honest. It's actually my oldest son's bedroom, which I'm sharing with him at the moment during lockdown, as the conservatory didn't work out as winter kicked in.
Well, if you tread on a Lego piece, we'll know from your face that what's gone wrong. Ben, congratulations. Obviously, this is one of our Ring Around series. Just to congratulate people on obviously being nominated for the top 40. Top 40, obviously, in terms of the EA Masters. Well, I was going to say recently, felt like relatively recently. And I think in particular, what's been quite interesting this week, as I've now done a few of these, is ringing around these people. It's not hard to see why that idea, that particular innovation was nominated and indeed relevant. Many of those sprung up during lockdown or were particularly relevant for solving some of the issues. Now, with Landmark and indeed your One Search Express and the different tools you've got, that's doubly true, isn't it? Do you want to give people just an overview of what your essentially the innovation was or is, and why it's so important to people?
Okay, so essentially, Landmark is a data center, so we hold lots and lots of data. And one of the innovations that's actually we've been working on for a while to try and speed up transactions anyway. I mean, I think most people who have heard solicitors come back at some point and say we're waiting on the searches. And that's quite true, actually. The local search means people have to go into the council to get some of the information. Now, certainly at the moment, the COVID safe rules and with COVID kicking in, councils are struggling more than ever. And in a lot of cases, aren't remaining open for periods of time. So they'll close down or they'll close, they'll restrict the way we get access to that information to be able to provide it to solicitors. And it's not all councils, some will be fine, but others can take months and months. Actually, it can suddenly overnight change from actually we're fine to it's going to be 3 months time, sorry, because we're closing for the next 6 weeks and we've got a backlog. Everybody knows the number of transactions that've come into the pipeline since lockdown. Now, it's all right if that's smoothly over a year, but the market's just not ready to cope when it's all at once. And we've been seeing sales 50% up month on month, year on year. And that's difficult to cope with. Not many people have that flex capacity. So what Express does, and there's a number of versions to it, depending on how the solicitor wants to use it, but we've got probably 60-70% of the data that a local search provides that can allow the solicitor to crack on, essentially, and we can provide that within 48 hours on request. So instead of saying, right, we'll wait till the search is ready, and it might be that the solicitor can tick most boxes and the search is just delays exchange or completion, but it might be that, especially with the current climate, so much in the pipeline, that solicitors wait until they've got all information, the conveyancer, before they start to progress and raise queries with the other party. So the idea is we'll give you the 70% quickly. So that unlocks the ability to crack on with the transaction and start moving forward. I think it's prominent at this time. And then we'll bring either the rest of the search when we can get it, or if it doesn't get to that point, so actually the council's closed and people want to move. And we've seen some examples where we've helped people or avoided people being homeless because they're all set to go and that search isn't coming back, or the council closes overnight. We're able to then provide an insurance that indemnifies against the missing information. But the key fact is very little is missing. Insurance is usually the ideal solution because clearly it's trying to insure out a problem. And if you've got that problem, you probably wouldn't have wanted to go through the pain of finding out after you've bought property. But what we're saying here is you've got the possibility to insure only when you've looked at all the information available, and the other parts back. So I think it's pretty prominent for right now, given that it
couldn't be more relevant, could it really?
Yeah, exactly. And I think for my side, in my agency, I'm always asking what can we do different, and I guess I get to look from the outside at that. And sometimes agents don't have a full awareness of the steps that happen downstream once they've agreed. They'll get given reasons and they can get frustrated, and there's often genuine reasons, but they don't see that perhaps they could have an influence or change that. I mean, we saw years ago home information packs, obviously not around so much anymore, but the concept of bringing information forward is a basic one. Actually, Information sooner, gives more insight and more informed decisions more quickly. And if you can make more informed decisions more quickly, your pipeline is going to get through. The speed they're going at the moment has got to be a pain for everyone. It's a pain for me in my agency. It doesn't matter about record listings and sales. If you can't get the cash out the back end,
that is pretty much got to be the challenge of the day for most people, hasn't it? We know we've come back to a great market. Obviously, actually, year-on-year figures for many are looking fantastic, but that log jam at the end where it is all stuck there is a massive problem. People just can't turn around their pipelines at the moment. Not to be the voice of doom, but as well, if they don't extend that stamp duty and everything else, we're going to see stuff dropping out as well, which is the really scary side. So we need to get that moving, and of course, is a solution like yours here. I think in the past you mentioned obviously a lot of the element was the cost, time, energy, but with your solution there, you're really not exposed on that front so much, are you?
No, exactly. Exactly. It's putting you in control, and that's what at Landmark we're trying to be about. One thing at a time, and we're moving through how we use data more effectively for property professionals. There's always going to be people, as far as I'm concerned, involved in a property transaction because you need people to deal with people, but they should be doing the things that add value or create value for the client, and that's moving through a smooth, stress-free transaction. They shouldn't be getting stressed about access to information, which, let's be fair, is held digitally. Ultimately, to have to go into a council. That's my perspective on it. To have to go into council to get information from a terminal is ridiculous anyway, when it's digital. So actually, we're just looking at ways that we can help use information to unlock some of the pains. It's not going to unlock all. If any company dealing with 50% more transactions is going to feel some pain and struggle to get through. But if we can give them better insight more quickly, then we will. And that's what Express is about.
But everyone talks about just control the controllables, and okay, it sometimes sounds a bit of a glib statement when these trainers and gurus tell us that. When you've got so many things kind of working against you out there, but actually with this, it's entirely true, isn't it? You've got to, if you can take this element of doubt out of it, you've done everything you can possibly do to make sure at least you're not the one in the firing line should anything happen.
Yeah, no, exactly that. Simon, they are the guru statements, but when you apply them practically, they work really well in most businesses. So when you look at it and say, well, actually, we are where we are, because you'll get people generally will whinge and shout at each other about it. And you can understand that because there's frustrations involved, but there's transparency there. We are where we are. What can we change? What can we control in this process? Well, we can do things differently. We can bring information forward that at least gives it the best chance of going through more quickly. It doesn't alleviate every pain in that pipeline, but it does alleviate some. And from my perspective, a bit like, and I'm sure there's lots of agents who have adapted like we have into digital viewings and doing things remotely. It's an adaptation you can take forwards. Why wouldn't you always want to bring more certainty and speed to the pipeline? I think sometimes it's difficult to maybe make it tangible, because you think, oh, this is taking me a lot of time. So what we're trying to do then is say, okay, we understand getting information sooner can be more difficult, be in pain, you've got to collect it, you've got to do this, you do that. How can we provide automated solutions that take away that pain? So you can have the information, but you don't have to spend ages chasing it and bringing it forward. But it is a mindset change. It's a mindset change in the market and property professionals as a whole to say, well, we can do this differently. Actually, it doesn't be done like this, and it takes people getting on board. All we can put out there is, listen, we can do this for you. We've seen some great results already.
The inertia is that mindset change. Is it just from the agents, or is it from other solicitors as well accepting these?
Yeah, I think it's from it's from the market as a whole. There's no one person sat there saying, I want to do this, but they might be saying, well, will the banks accept it, for example? Will lenders accept it? And yes is the answer. In the majority of cases, some lenders don't like insurance, and that has to be worked on, because everyone has to come with it. You can't not just this solution, any solution of change. It has to work for everybody. But bring information forward is a basic concept. If we can do that and everyone accepts that, I think most embrace it. When we've spoken to firms, and obviously we've plenty of clients across the spectrum, because Landmark works with agents, but also solicitors, banks, the lot. So we can sort of see that's what we're trying to work towards, is how can we make this product work for you as well, so that then we don't have that hurdle to overcome. But most are embracing it, especially at the moment, because if a council closes, a council closes. You cannot get this information.
Yeah.
You've got to either say this transaction's not going through, or we're going to wait, and or it falls through, which is exactly what you don't want. We've got lovely pipelines at the moment. If they're decimated by 30-40%, that's going to have a real impact. So it's, what can we do? Actually, this is a solution. This is one solution.
And what percentage of just ballpark of councils are actually closing at the moment? Is it a minority, or is it?
It's a minority, definitely, but there are a good selection, even if not closed, restricting access.
Right.
And what happened is they've got their own product councils as well, so they've got a direct search, official search, but it's often 2 or 3 times more expensive. And in some of the councils where they're closed, clearly it's not accessible either. But and it changes day to day. Some councils will be closed one week and open the next. Some will say, right, we've got restrictions, you can only apply for this electronically. Some will charge a bit extra for it. And they're trying to manage through difficult situations. So I'm not, singling out and saying councils are to fault here. I think, like everybody else, they're dealing with record volume in a time where they've got to be COVID safe, and perhaps don't have the infrastructure to manage that, or they've got colleagues going off who've got to self-isolate. That's difficult. So, we've got digital information. We've got 60-70% of it that we hold. So why not supply that straight away?
Making best use of it is absolutely critical. And those agents that have taken advantage of it, are you able to see any kind of? Are you able to quote any tangible benefits yet, or is it too early in the day to talk about how much sooner it's helping people complete on things?
Yeah, it's difficult to put an exact date on it, to be honest, at the moment, because it's early in the day, and also the market's in such a state that actually everything's getting slower anyway. What we have got is specific examples where we've saved transactions because people have said, we're going to be homeless, or that's it. If we can't move by Friday, as you get.
You quoted that, didn't you? That was actually included in the nomination. There was one really good example where you literally did save somebody from becoming homeless. I thought that was if we're here for one thing, it's obviously business, but it's also awfully nice if you can do the right moral thing as well, isn't it?
Of course it is, and a landmark. We're here to help property professionals, more effective transactions. That's what we're about. How can we help speed it up all the time? Right now, this is one thing, and that's a perfect example of what impact that then has. And that's a change in mindset, because the solicitors involved in there suddenly were like, actually, we've never really looked at something like this before, but it could work, and it did work. So that changes the mind, and they've got to see that in action, and we're aware of that. But which is part of the express world. The other pieces that we can do to help the industry is we do a sort of no sell, no fee idea as well. So you can order the searches sooner. And that concept means that you can get the information at no risk, essentially, as soon as you want it. Because normally what would happen, you'd appoint a solicitor. The solicitor would then get monies on account, and then they would order the search. And that process can take a couple of weeks by someone's found and signed up to a solicitor and order. If with no sell, no fee, it means that you can order the express or the versions of it. So you get 70% of the data straight away. You get the full search back as and when it comes. If the exchange is under threat, we can turn it to insurance, and you can have it at no risk, essentially, at the start. That's the actual search data bit. And we've seen that we're working with partners to deliver that saved 2 or 3 weeks on average overall on their transaction pipelines, because it's just more information sooner. So when you can see that, you can see that any information sooner is going to have a material impact. But we do need to get that stage where it's tangible, because that helps with the mindset change. If we could say to agents, using the solutions, you can move 3 weeks quicker, we're essentially going to make them better off. And that's what we're.
I see this as just like no risk. Why would you not try this at the moment anyway? For something that's just a real challenge. You can either sit around twiddling your thumbs or affect your mindset change. And fortune favours the brave, and it's not particularly brave anyway. It's just looking at some innovation. As you said, you've got a lot of the data already, so why would you possibly not make the best use of that?
Yeah, exactly. And it's different for agents to be considering searches, but actually, from my perspective, we talk to we talk to agents all the time. We understand the pains, but we have we work with different sectors of the market and understand how to unlock keys, and we can try and bring some of that knowledge across so that other professionals can see, well, if you did that a bit differently, or we did it differently, or question things that they might not have done before. And that's exactly it. If you sat there thinking, just like people were probably thinking virtual viewings don't work, and have now got lots of properties from them, or at least streamline their viewing process so they don't have as much time wasted. It's the same thing. What can I do here? And actually, I got the control of this, and we're happy to talk to any agents. I always am, and the team as well, because ultimately, even if they don't take up on the solution, it's interesting to hear the feedback. It's interesting to hear what stops it, what blocks it, because if we find that out, we can then try and unlock that in a different part of Landmark to say to the solicitors, well, come on, what else could we do for you to make it more, more amenable, or what else could we do for you in the lender space to make them more accepting of the process? But the core of it is moving information you would get anyway, to further up. So it's not necessarily changing masses. It's just saying, if you could have the searches back tomorrow, you would, as a solicitor. So why not have most of it back tomorrow?
I mean, that's the perfect place to leave it. I think there, why would you possibly not do that? Ben, people can reach out to you guys in the normal place, obviously, can't they? Landmark, and of course, anyone, just please go and have a look at their page on Kerfuffle. There's a contact us button, or you can reach out to me at simon@kerfuffle.com, and I'll forward it on to the team. But as I said, when we're hitting a time where, obviously it is getting harder and harder to turn around these pipelines, Landmark and Ben here have a solution. So I'd encourage anyone to have a chat. Ben, once again, congratulations, and you have a great week.
Cheers, Simon.
Cheers. Bye.